this integration that was supposed to take months. And it just, kept blowing me away on how fast we can move with tools like this, which prompted me to, that was the first time I ever felt with a tool that I can do anything that I can do in code. And that was an eye opening moment that,
Cool.
okay, it's so flexible, has everything that you need.
Welcome to This Week in No Code. I'm your host, JJ Englert, here with my co-host, David Pal. David, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing very well in very rainy Los Angeles, flooding and cars
Very
floating
rainy.
through the
I'm
city.
here as well. We actually lost power yesterday morning, and I tell you, I didn't know what to do with myself. We went straight to a restaurant that had power and stayed there until our power came back. I
Wow.
was a
You
lost
don't
soul.
lose power in Buffalo? I mean, in
No, you guys
Rochester?
are weak here. Like, you get a little rain and you lose the
I
whole
know.
power. It
Yeah, we
takes
are
like
definitely not.
12 feet of snow for us to lose power in
Yeah.
Rochester.
We are definitely not prepared for rain. Although it's been raining so much, I think they'll have to
It
do
has been raining a lot, but yeah, you know, I was like, I can't even make coffee. Like this is not gonna work. Like we need to go somewhere now. I'm very weak like that. Anyways, it's a great show for this week in No Code. The sun is out now, and we have a wonderful guest coming on later in this episode, Sahil. He is the founder of NoCode University. He's tried 50 different no-code tools, and he's going to give us his thoughts on what he thinks is the best, this industry at large, and it's just a really good conversation. But before that, we have some news that if you've been living under a rock, you don't know about, but otherwise you do know about it. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So I'm going to let David talk to you about that for our no code news of the
Yeah.
week.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to This Week in No. This week in AI, OpenAI launches, if you haven't heard, which you probably have, unless, like JJ said, you live under a rock, Sora, SORA, a text to video AI model, generating up to 60 seconds of super realistic, credible looking content. Some of the examples I've seen online are just crazy. Go ahead, check out their website. Some of it, some of them are weird. Some of
Yeah.
them don't really work, but it's wild to see a lot of the indie hackers on Twitter that have been building with AI models, video and image, blown away by the quality of some of these videos.
It's
Snippets
really
they're putting
impressive.
out.
Like I'm a filmmaker. Like I was a filmmaker, right? I'm glad I'm not a filmmaker anymore. Like it's
Yeah,
starting to feel like that of like, yes, that's a little bit of an overstatement, but this new model is really good.
yeah,
Really, really good. And to see where it's come from the last year is just incredible. So
yeah,
like what is even the next year gonna look like? It's like we're getting really, really close to like anybody can make these videos. And we kind of saw that a little bit with filmmaking later on where we had like the DSLR cameras or the phone cameras came out and like anybody could shoot a camera now, like a video now, right? And we saw that explode, right? And so that's cool, but that still required a device and you shoot it in good lighting and all this kind of stuff. Now it's you just talk to it and anyone can make a video now. So that's gonna even explode even more. So I honestly couldn't believe it. When I saw this stuff, I showed my wife, I was like, this was AI. Like, can you believe this? Like, this is
yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, I remember some of the initial, like, 3-second snippets, and I was like, "This looks like sci-fi in a weird, like, grotesque, ew, I never wanna do that again," and now I'm like, "I can't wait to play with it. This is it's so
Yeah.
fun."
Yeah, and we've seen some of our
Yeah,
friends make some really good commercials for their startups with this solely, like, and it actually works really well. Like, it is a really impressive model. You can't deny what's happening here. I follow the film industry closely, and I have a lot of friends still in the film industry. And one of my friends is an advocate. He's in the Hollywood rigging union and all this kind of stuff. And he posted about Sora, and he's like, "You cannot ignore this anymore. Like they are coming for our jobs. This is out. You can do this now, kind of thing." And they're like, "Oh, it's not there yet. It's not there yet." It was like, no, it's not. But like, but we had a conversation the other day of like what AI can't solve. Like
yeah,
it's hard. Like it's coming for. I'm not saying it's coming for everyone's jobs. It's just bringing disruption to every industry. and solutions and problems and answers everywhere. Like it's everywhere.
The reports that are coming out about which jobs are actually going to be lost are really talking about how the novice worker now becomes a skilled worker without the years of experience,
Oh, cool.
right? And so,
Yeah.
not necessarily that Steven Spielberg isn't worried.
Yeah.
He's still going to make a movie and
Yeah.
tell a great story, but it's the indie filmmaker who now, when they need B-roll, is going to have the best B-roll, right?
Yeah.
In fact, you may do set design based on what the AI output is, right? Like
Yes.
instead of the other one, try to fit the set to the AI. You do the other way around. And so
There's a million ways you can
change.
leverage it and use it
Yeah,
in
there's
beneficial
some real
ways.
cool things. Like with everything, right? It's the last 10 or 20% that will really make AI versus human. And I think the quality of content is going to get better.
Yeah.
The human aspect will just be even better at the last edge because they don't have
Yeah.
to spend so much time building the base.
Yeah, like one of the struggles that I faced as a filmmaker is like you needed so much to tell a story. Like if you had a great story you wanted to tell, you needed actors, locations, like all this kind of stuff, right? And so it almost made it impossible to like really tell stories in a quick way. And that's why I love no code is because I could go build something in a quick way by myself with no money.
Yeah,
And that's why I fell out of love with filmmaking. But now with this, I can almost start to explore those ideas again of like all these scripts and these ideas and like start the prompting these videos creations and start bringing that together for little to no money very quickly.
it makes me wonder. I'm thinking about, I saw one of the snippets I saw was like a car driving through the forest and it's video to video as well. And they're like, add this like it's Rainbow Road, right? Like Mario Kart. And I'm wondering now, like, think about set design with AI in mind, where you don't need the actual house it's going to look like. You just need the right size and shape and say, okay, great, make this look like the Wild West, right? And you
Yeah.
don't need the same kind of specific set design or even location finding. You can just do it at your, in your local neighborhood.
Yeah,
And it's
there's
changed.
there's a lot of studios popping up in Hollywood right now where it's a 360 screen, right? And they're using like Unreal, like graphics and everything behind it. So they're spinning up virtual locations in like most
Yeah,
of the
that's cool.
stages. So instead of like having, all the staging, all it takes is just you pop up that scene and now that's your stage,
Yeah.
and that's popping up everywhere in Hollywood. So and this could create those scenes even faster,
Right.
and
Right.
stuff.
Cool.
So there's going to be just rounds and rounds of innovation from this. But, we have a good interview that we got to move on to soon, but we didn't want to miss out on Sora because it really is almost ChatGPT level like innovation of just like, wow,
Yeah.
you know?
It came out on right right after Google made their announcement. JJ, do you want to touch on that real quick before
Yeah, with
we
Gemini 1.5, Google is swinging. They are saying, "Hey, you coming for our business? We're still Google. We still know what we're doing, and we're ready for this, right?"
Yeah.
So they just released another model before this, but now they have Gemini 1.5, and the context window for 1.5 is 1 million tokens, and so that's almost all of the Harry Potter books combined into one prompt that it can understand and kind of
Yeah.
read back to you, and like all that kind of stuff, and so.
Hour of video? Yeah, an hour of video.
It is nuts. And so what the information that they can take in now and then read, understand, and get back to you at the speed that they are is just unheard of. And so it's digesting information, it's giving you information. It's we have information at our fingertips like we've never had it before. And we have the ability to do things as well, like we've never been before, like whether it's creating video, it's creating music, it's creating text, it's creating applications. Everything is getting better and faster to ingest and to create with, which if you're a
And
maker, like
analyze.
you
It's
can't
not
be
even
happier than ever.
it's not even just how much information we have at our fingertips because Google did that first, right? How
There
much
you go.
information you have. It's
Yeah.
now, what does that mean to me for that, like in this context?
Right.
That's what, we're now getting at a just expert level. Wow.
It's an exciting time, and it's an exciting time. And so let's add on to that excitement, and let's bring Sahil to the stage to talk about his journey as a no-code expert and educator. Welcome Sahil to the stage today. Sahil, thank you for joining us. Always a
course.
pleasure speaking and collaborating with you. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned before the call, if you don't know how to pronounce my name, the easiest way to remember is a saw and a hill. So it's Sahil. But yeah, I'm a software engineer by training. I got my master's in computer engineering many, many years ago. And then I worked in went through the classic or the typical path, get a university degree, get a job. So I worked in the industry for almost 10 years. I worked at, some big companies like Deloitte and Expedia in actually, I got my start in a consulting role at Deloitte because there I was officially a consultant representing Deloitte. And then I got bored of traveling every week. So I moved on to Expedia, which happened to be a travel company, but there I was more settled, local role in Chicago. Spent some time there. And then I moved to Toronto and worked at a couple of startups. All in all, I spent almost a decade in the software industry, got a lot of great experience there. But as I was growing, I was getting pushed more into, as you grow the ladder or you climb the ladder, you get into management roles. And I was really good at it, but I wasn't enjoying it as much as being in a developer role. So, and I always had this thought of starting my own thing. So I was looking for some ideas, where I should focus my energy, what kind of where should I be spending my time? And I was looking for ideas. And around that time, I was working at a startup where I came across a low-code tool called Tray.io. So it's an automation tool, think Zapier or Make on steroids.
It's like
it's like enterprise tool.
Yeah, but very enterprisey. Yeah.
Very enterprise. It's like it starts at $1,000 a month. And there, even though I was in a developer role, someone from IT had mentioned that why don't we, try? We had to do an integration between two large systems in a healthcare industry setting, which is very, very, like compliance driven and whatnot. And we were going to write it all ourselves in Python. And then someone from IT mentioned this tool and they said, maybe we can look into this. And classic engineering mindset, like, no, these tools can't do this thing. We have to do it on our own.
Never heard that before.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I've always loved playing around with different tools. I think I created an Airtable account back in like 2015. I'm using Zapier since like 2013. So I was familiar with the tools. I love using these tools to like put, different projects together, but never use it in a work setting. So when we started using Tray.io, I built the whole thing in like a week or less than a week. This integration that was supposed to take months. And it just, kept blowing me away on how fast we can move with tools like this, which prompted me to, that was the first time I ever felt with a tool that I can do anything that I can do in code. And that was an eye-opening moment that, okay, it's so flexible, it has everything that you need. So then I decided to dive deeper into the whole industry. I had no idea no-code was a thing, low-code was a thing. I had no idea.
And when was this? Like what year?
A couple of years ago. So, late 2021, I would say.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was still early for like no-code to pick up as
we're still early today, right?
We're still
still early, yeah.
Everything's early until it's too late.
100%. So that prompted me to dive deeper. And I was like, and at that time I was thinking about, like going on my own. So I was like, I need to build a little bit of my presence online. So why don't I put these two things together and go on this no-code discovery in public? So that's when I did a 30 days of no-code challenge, just self-created. I had no idea actually 100 days of no-code was a thing at that time. So I just self-created this challenge and I just posted, it actually took more than 30 days, took me like a month, because the more I looked into it, the more I realized that there's so much that I have no idea about, and I have to like spend time learning these tools. So I think I experimented with like 50 plus tools in that 3-month
Oh my
period.
God. Wow.
Yeah, I tried everything. And I posted about it on LinkedIn. It's still available on 30daysofnocode.com. The whole journey is there. And then I was sold. I was like, this is it. I have to give this more energy and continue exploring this. And so, quote unquote, I got converted from being a traditional developer to, I'm lazy. I like to move fast. Because for me, always has been, I like to build stuff. I don't necessarily care how it's getting there. Like I'm not like married to code. I'm like, whatever gets the job done the fastest, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so that's why, and I'm just a visual person in nature. So it just like checked all the boxes for me. And yeah, so then kind of went on my own. I took like a bet on no code.
Interesting. It's interesting to hear your journey, because I feel like it's the same journey every traditional coder follows, right? Everyone goes, I could build it myself. Why would I use this tool? There's no way this tool is powerful enough. Okay, maybe it's powerful enough. Let me see. oh wow, this really, oh my gosh, there's so much.
Yeah.
I can do this. I like moving fast. I don't care about code. I think that's the standard arc.
It's either that route if you're coming from traditional dev, or it's you're not coming from anything and you're the entrepreneur just being forced into it. So it's like those two main gateways or highways onto no code. And it feels
Right.
almost like a little dirty when you saying you got converted of like,
Yeah.
or, like from code to no
That's a
code.
meme.
Welcome to the
Bad
dark
meme
side kind of
3
thing.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not that. I mean, they will continue to coexist, right? Like I still write code every day. Just the other day, I created a React application because we needed a component to embed in the Softr application that Softr didn't support natively. So we just built a React app, embedded
Oh,
it
cool.
in Softr. So I still code.
What was that?
I just 2 days ago.
What'd you build?
So basically there's a tool called Sandbird, which is used for creating chat applications, but
Yeah.
it provides an SDK, but you still have to put the whole thing together. There's no like no code builder there. So I was looking into options. They needed a native chat in Softr, but Softr you could do like Airtable, like hacks, but it's not a traditional chat interface. Like you can't do
Yeah, they
threads,
have
you
the
can't.
comments, but not like
Yeah.
a chat.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I used the Sandbird SDK, and then I created a React app, used SDK, and then we deployed the app on Netlify, and then we got basically the iframe link that we embedded in Softr.
Mhm.
So then for Softr users, it seems like they're in Softr, but behind the scenes, it's a React
That's
app.
really cool.
Just that.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually do a tutorial. I'm gonna post it on YouTube. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so I still code, and even like in Airtable all the time, right? Like you can get like 90% there, but there's these things that let's just write JavaScript for it. So
Yeah.
so there's no like conversion that way, but I got convinced that
Yeah.
there is other ways. There are other ways.
So coming out of this, you tried over 50 tools. What was like the tool, like one or two tools that were just like, this is just as awesome. This is gonna be one of my daily drivers.
Yeah, so the one that I was really impressed with at the time, at that time, I didn't have a good experience with Bubble, and I'll tell you why. Because
That's
for me,
also
I put
common.
also common, yeah,
Yeah,
because I put a constraint on myself that if I, as a software engineer, have to look up the documentation, no go. And all the tools that I tried, I did not look up any documentation, any videos. I just wanted to click around and see if I can figure it out.
Yeah.
Bubble was a little bit hard from that angle, without
Yeah.
getting any context, without getting any material, without any warm up. It was hard at first. So I was like, okay, so Bubble definitely is not something that anyone can just show up and start using on day one. They need a little hand holding and training, because even I felt that, and it wasn't so much about building an application, it was about the interface, which felt a little overwhelming at first. The one that really blew me away was Softr, because just how quickly you can move in that thing is unbelievable. And how quickly you can put something together, everything's obviously it's opinionated, there's less flexibility, and that's the whole point, to let people move fast and all the decisions are made ahead of time. So that was a sort of a mind-blowing tool for me, and where I saw where this thing is headed. Like we need to get to that level of simplicity if we expect everyone to be able to build applications.
Yeah.
Bubble is not that. Bubble is more like you still need training, you still need to go through a little bit of the warm-up time to get to a level of proficiency before you build good applications. The Software felt like if you've worked in spreadsheets before, if you're used to using online tools, sort of clicking around, if you can sort of find your way on these random SaaS applications, you'll be fine. But so that one definitely, I thought, okay, this proves that we can definitely do a lot of this stuff with no code tools.
And
Glide was the other one.
when you were clicking around, did you have a goal in mind, or you just wanted to see if you could launch anything?
Initially, I was honestly just clicking around, trying to see what I can build with it. What are the capabilities? I was trying to see how you would do authentication, how you would create a user, and then usually my go-to is to be able to create a to-do list application, because I think to-do list checks all the boxes. Like you can do full CRUD, right? And if you can do full CRUD, that means you can do anything. So typically I would try to do like a to-do application. So Adalo was super easy to do. Adalo actually, I thought, was something that sits between Softr and Bubble, in the sense that fast to move, but the lift is not as high as Bubble. Like the interface is smooth. Like if you've used Figma before, you can use Adalo.
Yeah.
And so it's relatively easier than Bubble, but more flexibility than Softr. So it sits in the middle. So I loved Adalo. I have a course on that as well. And
what would you build with Adalo? Is that like mobile apps?
Yeah, mobile apps. Actually, they do full now, responsive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I have no experience with Adalo, so it's hard for me to say, but I have looked at it a little bit, and it felt just slow when just using it and generally building with it and then getting my results back. Is that something, or is that just I just built it wrong?
No, I did face that problem personally, but the big problem with Adalo is the lack of API integration or a robust API integration.
So they don't have a
if
REST API; they only have built-in things.
they have built-in things, you can connect with Airtable. I think they just released an integration with Xano,
Yeah,
but like making a random call to a random API to get some data back and then just use the JSON to kind of render the
yeah,
things, it's kind of hard. You have to
yeah.
have it only works with entity API. So like a to-do item you can add, update, delete, but you can't like just randomly make a call and get like a JSON back and just do
Okay,
whatever with it. So it's
gotcha.
less flexible in that sense.
Yeah,
But that's the thing. The least flexible ones are the easiest to use, and the most flexible ones are the hard to use because the level
yeah,
of complexity
yeah,
increases with flexibility.
yeah,
Yeah, every little button you can change means you have lots of toggles and lots of input fields to go mess with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so those were, and also like one that surprised me was Notion too, because it's not necessarily a no-code tool, but if you dig into it, the whole philosophy about Notion is a tool to build your own tools. That's how the founder thinks about it, the Notion founder. And I think if someone does not have a background in software development, has never built apps before, and they need the simplest way to get a feel for what does app development even look like, they should try building something in Notion that is very, very specific to them. It shows them the exact process of thinking about the database fields, creating a UI, adding the buttons, adding the toggles. It's like the easiest way to just get a glimpse of what building your own tool even feels like,
yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm halfway through teaching a general no code course, and we taught Softr, Notion, all this kind of stuff. We taught Notion right in the beginning for those kind of things. Like that was kind of our introduction to databases, was
Exactly.
Notion, introduction to interfaces, and just how we can build, a to-do list. We built a team wiki, things like that, and just I think so many people were just amazed by like how simple it is, but like it's still powerful. And I use it all the time. I love
Yeah.
Notion.
And it keeps getting better.
It keeps getting better, yeah. Where are you on the Coda versus Notion train?
Oh yeah, I did Coda too during that time. I tried it. I think Coda is really powerful. I just didn't spend I didn't give it enough time to really form an opinion about it. But I just
Yeah,
know that it's super powerful. Once I if I s- like it's its own beast, right?
yeah.
But I didn't had a good use case at that time. So I haven't gone further in it. But I'm sure if I go you can build a whole business around just Coda, right? You know the Coda guy, like it's crazy
Yeah,
Yeah.
what he's
Scott
doing.
does, yeah.
yeah. We had him on the podcast,
Yeah,
Scott. He's a fantastic guy doing really incredible things in Coda.
yeah,
It's a really powerful
it
tool.
is.
Like you
Yeah,
sometimes when he talks to me, he's like, "I'm doing all this." I'm like, "You're doing that in Coda?"
in Coda. Yeah,
Like, and he's like, "Yes, we're doing it all." It's really nuts.
yeah,
Now,
it's
that
crazy.
kind of begs the question of like specialization versus generalization.
Yes.
As you went through these 50 different tools, like you just said with Coda, you didn't give it enough time to really become an expert and see all of its power. How do you think about the average person who's entering? Should they find a tool? Should they try learn everything? Like, how do they pick what to know?
So my general approach when it comes to this is to focus on the fundamentals because the thing is that if you get the fundamentals down, then you can pick up any tool and you sort of feel at home and you just have to pick up the
Yeah,
specific user interface or specific things about that tool. But if you have the fundamentals down, then you can basically do anything. That being said, once you have the fundamentals down and you are trying to build a career, the approach that has always worked, and I think it will continue to work for no code as well, is to follow the what I think it's a general term, the T-shaped model, where you
mhm.
go deep in one thing, but then you know enough about everything else in case you need to use, right? So you pick
I'm
your
doing a lot of that myself right now, quite
yeah,
frankly.
exactly. So you're going deep in bubble, but then you are
Yeah,
like exploring like other things as well,
yeah,
especially if you're going to be servicing if you're going to be running a services based business where you're working with clients. Clients will have different requirements. They might already have some tools in their stack that they want you to continue using, or
right.
you have to
Or
integrate,
just sometimes is a better tool for the job.
or just sometimes a better tool. Exactly.
Yep.
So getting the fundamentals down, picking your tool where you're going to go deep, and
Mhm.
then being familiar with everything else in case you need to pick anything like that for a particular project. in my opinion, is the way to go. But spreading yourself too thin early on, definitely not, because you just won't get the efficiency that you get by becoming an expert in one.
Yeah,
Just more
I think so. I obviously I went with the Bubble route, and I learned Bubble, probably the hardest no code tool. It's a really risky route. Like you have so many chances of failing and stopping your journey
Mm.
because of that route, right? Because it's just so hard. But now that you know that tool, it makes learning everything else so much easier.
Right,
Like whenever I go to all these other tools, like I can pick it up in like 2 to 3 hours, and like I'm actually fully building.
right,
Whereas Bubble took me at least 3 to 6 months.
right.
And that 3 to 6 months was rocky, and I'm lucky that I got through it, right? Many don't,
Right.
right? So I would say that, starting with a harder tool like that, probably not advisable, but if you do it, you will have a great skill set, and then making and learning everything else is easier, in my opinion.
Absolutely. But the thing is that in those 6 months, you weren't just learning Bubble, you were learning all the fundamentals as well. So it was
Databases,
right.
interfaces,
So it was
all
you
the
were learning two
workflows.
things at once. So even if you don't go the Bubble route, no matter what route you go, you will have to find a way. For example, if you want to learn about databases, you can
Yeah,
either do that within the Bubble world or you can do
yeah,
that in Airtable. You still have to
yeah.
learn all the basics, and then the
Yeah.
medium just is your preference. But yeah, I think with Bubble, it's similar to code where people get discouraged early on because there's some warm up time required to get to a place where you feel, okay,
Mhm.
I can do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried to before Bubble, I tried to learn Ruby on Rails,
Mhm.
and I remember just like I followed these tutorials, and it's kind of like copy work, right? Like you're just following the tutorial step by step by step. I'm just copying, which is a lot
Right.
of copy paste, but like you kind of start picking things up. And I remember, they leave a couple gaps for you to be creative to try to build this thing. And I remember looking at the resulting site, going like, "Holy crap, this is terrible!" Like I spent all of this time learning something, and I still only got this. Yeah, no, this isn't for me.
It's not gonna work, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hard part about learning a tool like Bubble for the first time is, like, you also need to learn how to design and, like, be look design good, and so you end up with just really bad looking apps
Right.
that work, they function, but it looks terrible, it's not secure, the database probably isn't set up right because there's no guardrails, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so your first app, you're almost always rebuilding, and then you usually take, like, 3 to 4 apps till, like, you're actually getting it down, and that's if you have the perseverance to get that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why like I like to keep all the design questions like out of the equation. Like I don't want to do it because that can take a lot of your time just thinking about the design. Like if you can get a mock up and you can just copy the mock up and just not have to worry about design decisions, that's the way to go. So you can focus on the behind the
Yeah.
scenes part.
That's why I love copying other companies to start because their
Right.
design's right there. You
Exactly.
build their design, and then they show you the functionality that you need. Oh, I need a pop-up now. Oh, this pop-up needs to save. Like, so rebuilding,
Ex-
other things to start, actually helped me do that kind of stuff because it
Yeah, I
just
spent
yeah,
so much time
100%.
with Dribble. I was
a
just
dribble.
like, that's
Yeah,
where I got all of my
I
inspiration.
love dribble. Loved.
What do
Yeah,
they do? How do they do it? Of course,
yeah,
that's like the complex versions of things. Usually it's like the pinnacle of someone's design work. And so it's hard. But trying to build it, like you learn how to build the complex
Yeah. You break
things.
it apart, you go step by
Yeah.
step. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But yeah, I think, well, it depends. Like some people are probably design first because that's what they enjoy more.
Mhm.
But then if you're just learning design, then might as well do it in like Figma or Sketch or something like that and not
Yeah.
do it in Bubble directly. But yeah, like, yeah, at first, definitely it can be a hard journey no matter what. Like people, s- I hate when people say, no code is super easy, anyone can do it. You still have to learn a lot of
yeah,
stuff. Yes, it's
yeah.
easier. The journey will go much faster. Your ROI is going to be a lot higher, but it's a false like expectation to think that okay, you can just do whatever you want in 2 weeks. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
If
We
you're a
with
Bubble
my
expert, Bubble is really easy.
yeah.
Yes,
Well,
and that
like
applies to
I
anything.
got there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my crash course, we dedicate like each week to something. So like one week was logic. So we're building forms and it's like introducing to the conditional logic, ands and or statements and just focus on the logic week. The next week was Airtable databases, right?
Right.
Focusing on how to build different structures, relational fields, lookups, things like that. And then it was Softr for, all right, now I need a front end. I need, put this on this. And then we worked our way up to Framer and then eventually Bubble. But it's like, we laid all these individual
It's a
concepts in
journey.
like
Yeah.
one little thing at a time to eventually get you there. And still, but when you graduate with this, like you won't actually be a pro in any of those, but like you'll understand the concepts that all stack together. And now it all starts to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the way to go. Like break it down. Yeah, that's exactly the approach I'm going for. Like that's what I want even for like NoCode University, that once I'm done building most of
Which
my
is your company. I don't think you've said that yet.
Yeah, we
It's
haven't
you
talked
own
about that yet.
NoCode University, which is an online university for no code courses.
Yeah, that's right. So online education platform focused on no code. And the idea there is that I'm building a set of courses, but what I want is someone who has absolutely no background in development to be able to start from scratch, something very basic as Notion, and build their way all the way up to, like a more complicated tool. But along the way, as you mentioned, pick up different skills like, okay, now we're talking about databases or APIs or logic, and
Right.
then slowly build on the other side when you've gone through all the stuff. You have all these necessary skills, and even that is just going to be, the starting. You're not going
Mhm.
to become a pro overnight,
Yeah.
but you will have all the basics so that you can go out there and actually start working on real world projects. So that's the approach I'm taking as well. I want to have a full
Yeah.
learning path so you can start literally at the bottom and then work your way upwards.
And I have taken your courses. I really like your format. Some of the courses were essentially scenario based stuff. Your boss gave you this task. Now let's go figure out how we can like break down this email into like a technical thing, scope it in like a Miro board, and then actually build it. So I
Yes.
like the way you break it down like that in a visual form. Got a lot of inspiration for you in that way. But I wanted to ask, like at the beginning of no code where you are and I'm starting to be of like these people taking their first steps, right? It is so difficult to find these people and for these people to actually be like willing to like take that first step, meaning like,
Hmm.
they're anybody. They're professionals, they're working in any kind of industry. They're not professionals, they're students. Like they could be anybody. And like finding those folks that are like, okay, I'm like ready to take that next step of like, learn Notion or learn something like is there anything that like you can add to that of like where you're finding people or how, like there's a common person that keeps taking your like a common like customer that keeps taking your courses, like any other information you can add to that because I want to essentially find ways to empower those people to say, hey, you're not different, you're normal. Here's how we can help you like grow kind of thing.
Right.
Because I feel like a lot of these people are just like that person at your company that's good at Excel, and it's like, come over, you'll be
Right.
good at a lot of, so like, who are these people?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great question. I won't say that I can pinpoint on like a particular cohort. Don't have that much data to speak to that just yet. But the few examples that I've seen are, I see a lot of people who have been in the industry doing, like in a full time job doing various things and have come across this term or this field, and they see that as a way to kind of go out on their own. So they
It's
want to learn a practical
Mhm.
skill which is in demand so that they can gain the flexibility to kind of run their own like freelancing consulting business. And they feel that, like they are stuck in a job that they don't really like. And if they can upskill and they see people taking on projects. So definitely we are seeing that as well. There's a lot of demand. So these
Yeah,
people want to pick up a skill like Airtable or just Zapier, which is more than enough to get started and
yeah.
start taking on jobs or small gigs. So I see a lot of that.
I
The
see
other,
that as well, by the way. People that like feel that they're stuck at their job, looking for something else and or want to raise at their job. Like something of like, I'm currently unhappy with where I'm at and I want to learn something new that can help take me to that next thing as I kind of where I'm at with this.
yeah, exactly. And I think what I've seen is people so far, I haven't come across many young people just yet, like people in universities or going through that right now. Something I definitely want to explore and figure out like how I can get in touch with these groups and universities.
Hmm.
Because I think there's a lot of potential there. People who might not necessarily be in CS or computer engineering degrees, but still have the technical savviness and the capability to pick up these tools and kind of do some like build something, because these people have so many ideas. Only if they know how to build it, they would do great things. So that group I haven't explored yet. But yeah, so I see a lot of this, and I also see some people who have an idea, but they feel they can do it. They can
Hmm.
build it themselves. They don't necessarily have the capital or the motivation to raise money.
Yeah, we know that
And
group.
yeah, so you
Yeah.
know that group for sure. So these are the two I would say are the most common ones that I've come across so
Yeah, I feel
far.
like the second group of like those are the entrepreneurs that just don't have the capital. Like I feel like that group naturally pushes itself to a bubble like platform because they need like full custom capabilities because it's like a new company, it's a new MVP kind of thing. Whereas the first group that you mentioned, I feel like that's more looking Airtable, Softr, these other things are like more not enterprise ready, but like SMB ready. Like you can actually apply it to your current work environment and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And even for the second group, actually, I'm quite amazed by things that people do in software Airtable world. I was working with a founder. She wanted to build a platform. She asked me for a quote and she said, I'm bootstrapping, I don't have the money. So this is like be out of my budget right now. And then she emailed me after the weekend saying that she just built it. Because
Oh,
she basically said I just went deep over the weekend. I like conducted like a self hackathon and just like figured it out. So I was like great, like that's exactly what we want to see. That if you can learn
That's
it,
the goal, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's that as well. And but in general, I'd say that there's a huge gap because software engineers software engineers in general, like they will have their full-time jobs or they're building their, like traditional startups. And then there are people on the other side who don't have these technical skills and they're stuck in their jobs. But there's the demand in the middle is emerging with companies now getting aware that they can build it for cheaper, they can automate stuff, and they need people to do it. But there's not enough people who have these skills because software engineers are busy here and the other people don't have the skills. So there's gap in the middle. I think
Right.
it's just going to continue to grow.
Well, I think software engineers are expensive but the good thing is there are a lot of them, and so like on the downside to no code is like they're maybe more affordable and they can move faster, but it's harder to find them. There's just not a lot of them. So
Yeah.
you end up paying more money as well because the talent is rare.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's why I think this is right now is the great opportunity to pick up these skills and sort of serve that demand because the demand is there, but not enough people are have the capabilities.
you mentioned you targeting, folks. The learning paths start with, not, have any technical chops. You don't know how to build a database. You don't know what a database even is, maybe outside of Excel. Why do you feel like there's a gap in trying to convert traditional software engineers into no as well? Like that's what you did. You found success doing that. But everyone goes and talks to the unskilled, the person who has never done it before. Why do you feel that there aren't courses top of the software?
Well, I guess it's very hard to compete, first of all, with the salaries that they get, right? Like I've seen it myself. It's crazy what happens in tech and the kind of money you can get. So that's like we're a little bit spoiled in tech with the workload and the
Yeah.
money that you get. So that's definitely one. And also, I feel that but it's changing with AI. I think it's going to change with AI a lot. And I'm hearing a lot of this with a lot of like successful VCs and entrepreneurs that if you can build it in house, like instead of paying the SaaS subscription fee per seat for your employees, and if you can just instead build it in house, I think
It's
they
getting
mentioned
really hot right now. I
it.
keep hearing that everywhere.
Yeah,
I
like they mentioned on the All In podcast, they
Yeah, I
mentioned the
think
Greg
that's
Eisenberg.
probably why it
Yeah,
all of a sudden is like a real thing. Like I see on LinkedIn and everything, like this is the year you cut your subscription cost or like whatever. Like it feels like there's a real momentum behind like cut your subscription, build your own, and like the technology is there to support it now.
yeah, and it's also going to be more custom to your
Right.
situation. So definitely there's that. So I don't know actually the great answer to that. I think it's assumed that software engineers are busy coding and they're not going to be interested in this, which I was definitely interested because I like to move fast. So I'm
Yeah.
sure there will be other people there as well. And something that's actually struck me the other day was that for people who are especially stuck in middle management who used to be builders, and a lot of people get pushed into that in tech. I was one of them. So they miss the building part. They miss, like the just going back to the basics and like solving problems. And but they have lost touch with sort of being in the terminal and coding like every day because
Yeah.
it's just been
And
so many
probably don't
years.
have the time to like do that on the nights and weekends.
Exactly. And they want a way out. They want to sort of be back in that building mode and
Yeah.
also keep what they've learned in the leadership roles so that, like, because I was genuinely one of those who like I enjoyed building a team, but at the same time enjoyed building. But more and more you spend time in management, you're just meetings, you're just doing meetings, you're not doing any building. So this gave me an opportunity to do both, right? So like I stepped out of that and it gave me the opportunity to go back to building. At the same time, I can manage my workload, I can manage how many meetings I want to do and when I want to do them. So I think that's an audience that I will start talking to a lot more personally speaking, that there are other options. You don't necessarily have to stay in that climbing the ladder path. Like, you can,
Mhm.
it is a little bit of taking a step back and sort of relearning, but it can have great outcomes for that cohort.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know so many friends that live in middle management that just hate their jobs. I want to go do something cool, like entrepreneurial. Like a lot of people get to middle management, hate the meeting life, and then go, I want to
Exactly.
go be an entrepreneur. And this is what middle management is true, both tech and not tech, right? Like I know some,
Yep.
middle management, actually kind of upper management at a pharmaceutical company. Just like, I'm just going to go look to buy a business, right? They've been making all this money all these years. They have some time, they can do it. And, learning no code is a way to start building some of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I'm seeing is like, so I do a lot on TikTok, and I get a lot of hate on TikTok from
Yeah.
software developers,
Oh,
right?
I'm sure.
So I'll feature something and they're like, oh, that can't scale out. So we get that, right? And I think there's this world where there's software developers that are making a lot of money, they're really good at their job, and they don't want to do anything outside, or whatever they do outside of the work. Maybe they're satisfied with a current skill set, right? And so
Mhm.
I don't think they're even looking at all, right?
Right. Yeah.
Then you have the people in middle management, or the people that do want to spin up a nights and weekends project, but they're like, I'm not going to take 6 to 9 months to build this thing.
Right.
Is there a faster way? And I think
Exactly.
that's when we start to see those kind of people go to no code, right? And so, but it is very jaded. Like if you're in that software world and then you see this little no code thing coming up, they're real quick to let you know that
It's a
it's
threat
not as
to the
powerful.
identity. It's a threat
Yeah.
to their identity. I can tell you that much because that's what their whole career is built around, and they can't let that go. Everything sort of relies on that, but it's changing fast, like, especially with AI, co-pilots, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Actually, funny that you mentioned that, and that's exactly why I signed up for an Airtable account many years ago, because I needed an API and I didn't have time to build an API.
Oh,
So I
cool.
realized that Airtable out of the box has an API. You just build a table and you get an API for free. I was like, perfect. So that was my first maybe foray into no code many years ago without realizing what it was.
Very cool. I spoke to a VC this week, and their intentions that they're investing in no code. But what they want to know is that these no code platforms have the ability to bring the mainstream of software devs into it, right? Because they see no code as like a market that's fine, but really where they need to penetrate is the development market, right? In order to get the return that they're looking for, right?
Mhm.
And so I think where they're focused on right now is no code platforms that give you the power of code, but the benefits of no code, and seeing that as that middle ground where, okay, we can assume a lot of the CS market coming into no code for the first time, and that's where our growth comes. How do you feel about like that kind of approach generally?
Um, I think there are tools that will be more conducive for this segment. So things like Retool or things like AppSmart or AppFarm. These
Hmm.
are all,
There's so many tools.
yeah, they're all Bubble plus plus. They are like Bubble, but for enterprise, and the data language that they have and like the capabilities that they have, the compliance that they have are all like targeted at enterprise, right? So to get, because these people always have questions about scale,
Yeah,
compliance, security.
security.
So if all these things are checked off, then there will be more buy-in generally from like the leaders in the tech, like your CTO, your
Yeah,
CIOs. These people will have a better sort of buy-in, and once they have that, so similar to what happened to us at my startup, Trade, we used Trade.io because there was a buy-in from the CTO. It was floated by someone in IT and we were in healthcare, but it checked all the boxes, so we were able to use that. So I think these tools will have a better chance internally, especially for projects that are might not be like user facing. I mean, if you can even do user facing, of course, no problem. But especially these big
like
companies have
internal
needs for
tools.
internal tools that they are
Yeah.
probably paying. Like think Workday. How many companies pay for Workday and how
Yeah,
much they pay for it?
yeah.
What if they want to just
Monday.
like build their own and they
Yeah.
don't want to like do it, from the ground up with code? One of these tools will definitely play a big role.
Yeah. So what you're essentially saying is, for a no-code platform to get there, they need to give that the security, the scalability that code provides that makes it easier for that org to onboard them as a vendor, you know, before they could really kind of see any kind of real adoption in that way.
I think, yeah, because definitely those things are important. And it's also a lot about the mindset of
Hmm.
the leaders in tech, right? So they look for these things. And to get the adoption, they would want to make sure that those concerns are covered for sure.
Yeah, no, that's definitely going to still be a battle for many folks, right? There are too many super compliant systems, and putting the wrong person in charge of building means you can't be sure that all the practices are followed properly.
Yeah, and I think in some cases, actually, these tools will do a better job. I'll give you an example. So AppSmart, the way they do it is you build the application using their interface, which is a no-code interface, a visual interface. But what they do behind the scenes is that they generate the code for your application.
Right.
And then once the code is generated, they compile it into your iOS app, your Android app, whatever you want, your React app. The great thing about this is I spoke to the founder and he explained this to me. The best part about this approach is in traditional software companies, the biggest problem is tech debt and having to upgrade the libraries all the time, having to upgrade, this thing broke because this is no longer supported. And now we have to rewrite the whole thing. That is taken care of by AppSmart by default because they generate the code. So anytime they upgrade to a new library, they recreate the entire code for your application with that latest library. So that means that you're always on the latest and greatest without having to do any of these upgrades yourself. So I think
I do have an argument for that though, because we're seeing this a lot with like WeWeb and Flutterflow, where you can export these codes, right? But then you have these like super technical software devs saying, I exported this code and this code is crap. I can't use this code, right? And then it's like, if you can't use this code, then there's no benefit of actually being able to export it in the beginning, right? And so I still think we don't have a platform yet where, and I can't speak fully to this, but we don't have a platform yet where you can kind of define how you want your code structured and set up, right? And in your kind of style for maybe your org, and then it's exported in that way. Whereas the code you're getting is just kind of vanilla, not fully formatted the right way. It's an abstraction of some sort. So I think it's cool that we have platforms like WeWeb and Flutterflow and AppSmart that you can export the code. I think there's huge benefits to that. You can go on-prem, you can stay updated with all these stuff, you can avoid some of that tech debt, but you're still not getting the code that you're used to writing at that level.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't think even like thinking about export is probably not something that you should be going for anyway if you're using these tools. Yeah, like leave that with the tool. Like if you're using something like AppSmart, you'll have to just have the trust in that in the background that they're keeping you up to date with the latest library, so you're covered from all angles. But if exporting is your goal, I don't think we're there yet for the developers to feel that okay, this is great code. So I think that's one thing. And the other thing also, like for adoption that people need is integrations with things like GitHub, so they there can be proper branching and versioning. Like that's the other thing that I miss a lot. Like the other day I was thinking about what's the equivalent of a code review in the no code world. Like how do I check what my team has done so I can give them feedback without before it goes to production, right?
Yeah.
Like how do I see the delta? Like I'm missing that part, so I can comment on the delta, because most of the times we actually have to work on the actual application. So I know Bubble is now allowing that, and
they have basic version control. There's still a lot to be desired. It's good though for working with teams. Like it's good enough for the most part, right, Dave?
Yeah, I think it's okay. It misses. It's weird because like they're modeling it off of Git, but Git is a text-based Delta process, right? Like here are the lines that changed.
Right.
Well, in Bubble, it's like here's the section of the screen that changed. Right. It's like a very different thing. And actually, I was brainstorming with a buddy of mine who's a developer, inner dev, interested in the no code space, but like you always came up short on the technical side of that output. And he said it would be really great to build a no code platform that actually sits on top of GitHub, right? It actually uses your code and then lets you could build the first React component and then you can move it around properly on the page, right? And then when you export the code, it's your code that you've already written. You've just now moved the div a little bit. You've added the padding a little.
Isn't that what like no code platforms are generally though? Like that's what like WeWeb is. Like it's just a JavaScript framework and it's just a visual thing but the actual code.
Well, the difference is there has to be a fresh start like a clean start from WeWeb, right? This way, in theory, you could have a no code platform that sits on an existing code base without it having started in no code,
Mm,
right? Imagine being able to import a code base into WeWeb
yeah, that
and
would be
then
dope.
output into the same language and same structure that you're following. Then
Yeah.
you're not worried because it's part of your same process, right? You
Yeah, it's
can
like take
build a
this chunk of
branch in
code and now
GitHub
drag
saying,
it
okay,
like
let me try this.
yeah.
And then you have like, version XYZ is now
Well,
possible.
yeah. So basically, it will look something like a node library where you have these node modules that have a very specific purpose. So you have your basic application, but then you kind of are building these modules that anyone can use in any application on top. Yeah. So yeah, I can see that would be interesting if someone does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Like totally flip it, really developer first with the desire to be workable for export and kind of like total maintenance on your
Yeah.
own.
I think as we start to wrap up here, I think a finishing question I wanted to ask you is I think it's clear this industry is growing quickly, very, very quickly, and it
Mhm.
has huge potential. I mean, just coming from traditional software, it's a huge industry, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that, no code will continue to merge into that industry. I think AI is helping this move even faster now. When you're thinking about your company, NoCode University, and you're thinking about the future, what are the things that you're trying to do to increase the adoption and to get more people on board, learning no code?
Yeah, I think so. One thing, so we organized a meetup last month here in Toronto, and there were almost 50 people there. And I assumed that they're coming to a no code meetup, so I will know what is no code. But
Right.
most of the people didn't.
Oh, interesting.
Great.
Yeah, so they saw this thing on Meetup. They, maybe looked it up quickly, and they saw that
Meetup still works like that?
Yeah,
yeah,
Wow.
I've never just skimmed around on Meetup going
I've
like,
never just
what
skimmed
were
around
the
on Meetup either.
yeah,
Man, I would love to have the free time to just skim around on Meetup and just go to meetups.
yeah. I know. I only logged in after like 10 years to create the Meetup, and yeah. So these people, they just came across the event and they decided to come and just see what it is, like see what this is all about, and meet other people. They were all
Yeah.
like technical and like people with like different kind of full time jobs or college students who are kind of floating around the space, but not necessarily have worked with any of these tools themselves. So
Yes.
the takeaway from that was that there is still a lot of education required in terms of just what is no code or what is possible with these tools. So I think like people like us who are creating content and sharing the use cases and sharing not just see I built this app in 10 minutes, but like here's an alternative path and why someone without an engineering degree can also learn to do it. So I think there's a lot of like education still left for both developers, the builders, as well as the stakeholders like your CTOs, your CIOs, your small business companies who are looking for some solutions, because some people still have qualms about using no code to build their startup. And I saw it happen firsthand last year. Someone spent 200 grand to build a startup with the traditional approach because they weren't
Yeah,
convinced.
this guy did. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's struggling. It's struggling because I saw on AWS and there's like all these microservices. It's like expensive developers. It's just yeah. So I think there's a lot of education still left, and
Yeah, people just don't know that this even exists, right? They still
yeah,
think they need to like code in order to do complex stuff. And then they're like,
yeah,
I'm not smart enough to code, so I'm just that's it.
yeah, exactly. And for some reason, it got connected with MVPs, and no code is great for MVPs, but not for a
Right.
real company.
That
I
was
don't know why
Bubble's
that is the
ads
case.
running on Instagram.
It's probably just because the first movers in this space are good in MVPs, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I've heard there is actually a strategy reason to go after, like, in building the company, like Bubble, the path they're following is go target the underserved people first, which are the people who can't build, right? They have no option. Bubble was the option. So just target them because the product can suck for a while because they have no alternative. And so they were who they went after and then eventually you keep layering on more and more and you move up and up market, right? Airtable did the same thing, right? Hey, you have no option. Then you move into enterprise only, right? And Bubble was going after this same playbook of target the indie hacker who doesn't know how to code, which is surprising how complex the platform is to do that. But they started there, and MVPs were what most indie hackers were building. Right? And that's
right.
just kind of how
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it. So did Glide. Glide is also moving more into enterprise now. I mean, they were
Yeah.
always enterprise, but it's clear like where the
More
focus
I get
is.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's I think B2B is where the money is, right? If they want to keep their billion plus valuations. And so B2C, which is what they would be if they were just going after indie hackers, is really hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you saw it with the last pricing update. It's just like we can't afford to have your tech on here that's running hundreds of thousands of operations a month, but it actually doesn't make any money, and we're not really billing you more than $20 a month for it.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make financial sense for us to do that. And a lot of people got angry, but like that's also understandable. It's like this is cloud computing. Yes, it's not that expensive, but it is still expensive at scale
Right.
when you have millions of users actually trying to build stuff, but it's very inefficient and it's not actually a business that's like making money. It's just a tinker, then
Yeah.
it's just like we can't support that.
Yeah. No, it's understandable because there are costs associated, but I feel that if tools can let users use all the pro features, like including API plugins and all that stuff, I think that would be a huge win because I think a lot of people get stuck because they have to upgrade to even use API plugin. And that's like a turn off for some people because then they can't really test their idea if it's going to work or not. So maybe
Yeah.
even if they don't allow you to deploy it, but if they allow you to build it, I think there will be more adoption, in my opinion.
Interesting. Well, how can people find you and learn more about what you offer?
Yeah, I'm everywhere. LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. My handle is Sahil Khosla and also NoCodeUniversity.net. If you are interested in looking at some of my courses, I just released a new one just a couple of weeks ago called the Notion Masterclass. It goes deep. If you are interested in sort of building a little bit of a career around Notion, like people are offering Notion consulting, or if you just want to use it for your own internal use cases and build some custom tools. So this one is a long one. It really covers a lot of stuff. 9 hours. I didn't think I'll build a Notion course that'll be 9 hours long, but there was just so much to cover. Yeah, it has 15 plus projects, hands-on projects. So it's also available on NoCodeUniversity.net. But yeah,
That's awesome.
say hi and do connect.
Great. Thank you for taking the time to connect. And yeah, I'm sure people will love this podcast. And if you haven't yet, go check out NoCodeUniversity.net.
Definitely.
Yes, that's right. Awesome. No, thanks for having me. This was great. Very
Thanks,
insightful
Sahil.
conversation and looking forward to being back another time.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
I always love bringing on a guest like that because it gives us so much more perspective. I don't think I've tried 50 no-code tools. Have you tried 50 no-code tools?
I think 5,
Yeah.
maybe 6. Like not more.
I've been
Definitely less than
experimenting a lot. I'm probably up to 20 now, but like not 50. And I have a handful that have become like kind of daily drivers, but such a great experience in understanding of like, hey, he was like a trained software developer with his master's and he's like, and making a lot of money. And he's like, you know what? I want to do something new. I want to, be at the front lines. Let's go do no code and then try all these things and then actually say, yeah, that actually is enough for me. I don't need to go back to my cushy job. I'm going to go full time on this, and now makes NoCode University. So another testament to, the power that NoCode has, the ability that it has. I think the conversation about bringing, software developers and having them transition to NoCode, like that's going to be a slow burn. And I think it's going to happen out vice versa, where no coders are just going to transfer to traditional software as well. I think the two are going to kind of just continue to merge, I think, together with AI at the middle of all this kind of stuff, kind of, making that happen a little bit faster.
He did bring up AI and how AI kind of brings down the barrier for coding and some of the value, not the value of coding, but what the coders will do and maybe encourage more people to think about that abstraction layer a little differently as more okay, right? AI is an abstraction of their code. And now if they're not writing the code, they kind of see the value in the platform writing the code.
I also think it's like, they haven't had to get away from their ecosystem. Like if they're in React, they're, in React and they don't need to like use other tools, but now they're using other tools for AI and they're getting used to using other things that can help them go faster. And so then it's like, okay, well, what else can I do to go faster? So I think it leads to that curiosity. So man, it's a great time for people that want to make
no
things.
coder.
Yeah. Just across the board. So it's also a great time to listen to this podcast this week in NoCode because we're going to teach you,
and
we're going to
subscribe
show it
and
to you.
comment and rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen.
Listen to the man because not many of you are doing it yet. We need your support. If you are enjoying this podcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, leave us a comment, subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate it. And if you want to advertise on the podcast, we don't really do advertising, but if you want to, reach out and let's see what's up.
Let's figure-
Let's figure it out. So that's it for this week in No Code. And David,
We'll see you next week in No Code.
see you guys.
See ya.